Muy buenas tardes.
So, a very good afternoon. We called this press conference this afternoon in order to provide you with information about the Security Council's scheduled agenda for the month of June 2017. Bolivia today took over the presidency of the Security Council, and it's a privilege for us now to be able to share with you some of the key themes in our program of work, and then, of course, we'll be more than happy to receive any questions you may have. Firstly, to share with you that we have set 5 priority themes for the course of Bolivia's presidency through June. On the 6th of June, we will have a briefing under the Security Council agenda item Maintenance of International Peace and Security. In that briefing, we will focus on preventive diplomacy and transboundary waters. That briefing on the 6th of June will be presided over by the President of Bolivia, President Evo Morales Ayma, and the Secretary General will also participate in that briefing. And once again, to give you the date, it's on the 6th of June, Tuesday. On the 13th of June, we have a briefing on a comprehensive approach to mine action and explosive hazard threat mitigation. That is the first briefing of its kind in the Security Council, the first such briefing on this theme, but it's enjoyed broad support as an initiative put on the table by Bolivia from the other members of the Security Council. And at that briefing on a comprehensive approach to mine action and explosive hazard threat mitigation, we'll hear a briefing from Mr. Jean-Pierre Lacroix. We also have a briefing on the Middle East, and particularly the question of Palestine, set for the 20th of June. We are still determining who the briefers will be at that meeting and putting the finishing touches to those decisions, but we believe it's an important briefing because in June of this month we will mark the 50th anniversary of the start of the occupation of Palestinian territories. And a series of decisions taken 50 years ago by the Security Council on this issue, and of course subsequently, all of that will be marked this month. The Security Council has also approved a visiting mission to Haiti that will take place from the 22nd to the 24th of June inclusive. The purpose of that visiting mission is to take stock of the process of the withdrawal of MINUSTA prior to its transition to MINUJUST, and we will also enter into contact with the highest levels of authorities of the Haitian government, as well as representatives of the UNCT and representatives of Haiti civil society. And as a result of those discussions, we'll pave the way for the replacement mission that will take up its mandate as of October this year. There will also be an open debate on the 28th on the non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. That open debate is taking place in the context of Resolution 1540. Bolivia is chair of the 1540 committee, and it's in that understanding that we will have the open debate on the 28th of June on non-proliferation of WMDs. I think you all have copies of the program work available to you, and so you'll have noted that on the 8th of June there will be a briefing on threats to international peace and security caused by terrorist acts, focusing in particular on combating Daesh and Al-Qaeda. On the 15th, we have a briefing on peace building, focusing on cooperation between the United Nations and the African Union, another important issue in our view. We will also address several issues, including the ending mandates of many peacekeeping missions, and of course we have set aside time to respond to any emergency situations that might arise through the course of the month. For example, a need to respond to latest events in the Korean Peninsula, in Syria and in Libya, to mention but a few. So there's flexibility built into the program of work to respond to all of that. That is, in general terms, the program of work as adopted by the Security Council this morning. This afternoon at midday, I beg your pardon, we will have a meeting with TCCs for the mission in Darfur, and tomorrow We will have a briefing in the afternoon on UNOSI, the mission in Côte d'Ivoire, that will begin at 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. So with that, if you have any questions, any comments, anything we could clarify, I'm here ready to answer to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Shauna McGee from Kyoto News, and on behalf of all of us and many others at the United Nations Correspondents Association, thank you very much for holding this briefing and informing us. I had just a very quick question. DPRK is very much at the front and center of our coverage, and we're wondering, have there been any meetings? Are there any draft text resolutions being circulated? Can you outline for us what you know as you've met with many people today? Please share with us anything that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I take a couple of more questions and then, please?
Muchas gracias, Presidente.
Thank you very much, President. May I begin by wishing you every success in the work in the role of Presidency of the Security Council. A comment about, if I could ask you, what exactly it means for Bolivia to occupy the post of Presidency of the Security Council. And then turning to specific issues, may I ask what the purpose is of the briefing on preventive diplomacy and transparent waters, which will be presided over by President Morales? And also, what are your expectations or your expected outcomes from the mission to Haiti? Thank you very much. I will ask my question in English.
Matthew Lee, Intercity Press, on behalf of the Free UN Coalition for Access. Thanks for the briefing, and hopefully we'll see you at the stakeout after consultations during the month so we can find out what took place behind closed doors. I wanted to ask you about, I noticed that Yemen is a footnote. Usually maybe it has become a footnote, but usually there's a meeting toward the end of the month. And I wanted to know both, not just technically why it's a footnote, but what Bolivia's thinking is in terms of trying to have the UN have the Security Council have some impact on the ongoing slaughter in Yemen. And also, on, even though it's not on your agenda, Western Sahara, a question arose at noon about the new personal envoy and whether right now there's none. Christopher Ross is off the case. There's no envoy at all. And I wanted to know, as an issue on the Council's agenda, have you heard anything about this? Are you concerned that it's a file right now without anyone working on it? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Yes, yeah, the question is, last month, the Secretary General said that it was very dangerous not to have any communication channels with the DPRK, and he asked the Security Council to look into that and deal with that. Did anyone mention anything about that? And also what's happening with the DPRK and the tension on the Korean Peninsula has drawn the attention of the Pope, who has said that this very much needs attention, and he's asked, will the UN step up and do what it needs to do to start having negotiations and to have some way of dealing with decreasing the tension? Has there been any discussion about either of those? Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your excellent speeches in the past month at the Security Council. Will there be any discussion about the placement of THAAD missiles in the Republic of Korea? And The Economist, now Financial Times, recently reported that there was an attempt by the CIA and the South Koreans to assassinate the president of the DPRK. And it seems as though the discussion of this issue is entirely one-sided with no historic context. So do you intend to raise these issues?
Thank you very much. One more, please. Sir.
Thank you. My name is Masood Haider. I represent Daily Dawn newspaper of Pakistan. In the Security Council, especially during the presidency of the United States, it seems that there's an effort to sideline the issue of Palestine by the United States, in particular, saying that there has been too much Israel bashing going on. Do you think there was much Israel bashing going on in the Security Council or the United Nations? What is your opinion?
Thank you very much. I don't know if I should it in English or Spanish. Maybe one more. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Stefano Vaccara, Radio Radicale in Rome and La Voce in New York. This is a question I ask often to the President of the Security Council. is if you think that press freedom is an issue that the Security Council should address, because it seems like every country that the press freedom has been in danger, then you know, situation gets also very dangerous, conflict. We can think many countries, also in South America, Venezuela, and then specifically in your national capacity, Bolivia is not doing very well, also because the ranking is going worse every year. So I would like also a comment on that. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Voy a intentar.
Thank you very much. I'll try and respond to all questions. In my capacity as president, I will try. When it's a theme to do with the 15 members of the council, and I try. I'll try replying initially on behalf of the 15 members and then in a national capacity. Now, on the situation in the North Korea, at 1:30 this morning, we had nothing formal on the theme. We know that this is a high priority for the Security Council. The Council has made various statements on this theme, and as soon as we have news of any action that the Council will be taking, you'll be duly informed. That's what I can say about that. Secondly, on the debate, the meeting on transboundary waters for the 6th of June, the Bolivian proposal to the Council was well received, because that situation, we think, needs to be addressed preventively to avoid any kind of conflict. It's a situation which in various continents is very much an issue that needs to be addressed. We know that there's been good practices around the world, so gives us a good opportunity to exchange opinions on this important issue. Moving on. Yemen, situation in Yemen. You know, we've assessed this theme. Mr. O'Brien himself, on behalf of the UN, stated that we were going through the worst humanitarian crisis since the end of World War II, and one of the epicenters of this humanitarian crisis is in Yemen, due to a plethora of factors, many of which were caused for human man-made factors. So that is a priority, and we might have a meeting in June. We don't have a specific date for that meeting. That's why it's down as a footnote for now, but of course it is certainly a theme, a priority theme nevertheless. On Western Sahara, when we have information, we will brief you. I can't say more than that for now, but as soon as we do have information, you will be informed. Moving on. I think there is a shared position within the Council of encouraging initiatives, peace initiatives, for the Israelo-Palestinian conflict. All the peace initiatives, and the goal of the meeting that we are summoning, its goal is not, of course, either to provoke or to undermine conversations that are going on. The fact that we are prioritizing that theme is with a view to calling for peace, calling for reconciliation, and also to remind you over the last to cast a reminder over the last 50 years. Now, in a completely national capacity, if I may, I'd like to stress a couple of things. Now, for the presidency, for Bolivia, it's a great honor to preside the Council, but we do it utterly convinced that our presence first in the Council and the fact that we're assuming the presidency now is done is in representation of all the membership, all 193 members of the organization. The Council represents the whole membership, and we will seek to preside in an absolutely transparent fashion so as to guarantee that the membership is fully informed. Secondly, our goal is to be utterly faithful to the principles and purposes of the Charter, promotion and protection of multilateralism as the best way of resolving conflict around the world, and at the same time preserving strictly the functions and mandates of the Security Council. Its fundamental mandate is to maintain international peace and security, and we do think that we need to specifically advocate for that. Now to the question posed by the question on themes of freedom of press. Of course, we do value freedom of press, freedom of expression, freedom of opinion. These are fundamental pillars of democracy. But we think that there are scenarios in the United Nations to address that theme. We have a Human Rights Council. We have special rapporteurs on these themes. What we need to avoid, and I say this in a national capacity, is that the Council should seek to try and tackle all themes. Not all these themes fall within the Charter of the United Nations. The Charter. Our objective is to address those themes that pose a threat to international peace and security. There are other organs, other UN bodies responsible for addressing those and other themes. And we obviously, we'd be pleased to discuss any theme within the relevant forum. Now, a couple more questions.
Gracias, embajador.
Thank you. In your national capacity, could you talk about the possibility of Venezuela returning to the Security Council? We know the US did an assessment of the situation last month. And could you give your reaction to the meeting of the foreign ministers of the OAS that ended without a definitive vote?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I just wanted to give you a follow-up. I'd asked you in the question whether, in your opinion, that since the United States is insisting that there is some Israel bashing going on in the Security Council or at the United Nations, in your opinion, is that a fact? Is there, in your opinion, some Israel bashing going on in the United Nations? And why is it that it is being said so?
Thank you very much. Last one? Yes, adelante, por favor.
Go ahead, thank you. Question on progress and follow-up in the Council on the peace process in Colombia. On the agenda on the 23rd, there'll be a report due, but we've heard news from Colombia where there have been delays in implementing the agreements, the hand-in of the weapons to the UN. I'd like to know if the Security Council is tracking this and how you intend to deal with this in June. Thank you very much.
Las tres.
So I'll try and respond to 3 questions in a national capacity, please. So it's very much in national capacity on the situation in Venezuela. I think there is a consensus that this is a theme that it's not a Security Council theme. There's not a threat to international peace or security. And we think that mechanisms already exist for regional, sub-regional dialogue, good offices, respect for sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence, in this case of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, to address this theme. On the OAS meeting, I can only speak of themes linked to the UN. My foreign minister expressed the position of my state on this theme. On the situation in Palestine, I would refer here to the position of my country on the situation of Palestine. We want to draw attention to the fact that probably That theme in particular is one of the biggest failures of our organization. After 50 years, I think I think we can say that, but that doesn't mean we should be denied any. We don't have the hope that at some point we can address as soon as possible, within the context of the resolutions issued by the same organ, I mean the Security Council, that we might address things, and we are very clear in our position on this theme, and in all the various debates that have been held, not just in the Council, but Bolivia, as you know, is part of the Committee for the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People. Our position is utterly clear, categorical on this theme. On Colombia, I'll say that this is a theme that, I say, we're tracking. The Security Council visited Colombia. It issued a presidential statement on the theme. We're awaiting. We're hoping to continue contributing to the peace process. We've seen it. We've seen it on the ground. We've seen that building peace is not simple. It's not easy. And the purpose of the Security Council, in that there's a unanimous position, is to contribute to that process and to bolster and recognize and welcome efforts made by both the government of Colombia as well as the FARC leadership, as well as the victims of the conflict. That is the purpose of, and that's, I'm sure, will continue along those lines. One last question.
Two more. Okay.
Gracias.
Yes.
Mi nombre
Thank you. Abdelhamdel Saib, speaking from Al-Quds Al-Arabi. Question on this humanitarian situation in Gaza. Ambassador, could there be an initiative to visit Gaza as you visited South Sudan? The Council has often visited parties to a conflict. Why not a mission to Gaza? Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm Rhonda Haubin, and I'm at Tat's blog in English. But my question is about the workings of the Security Council. Up to now, it seemed that the Security Council membership, the 10 elected members, seem to wait till they hear from maybe China and the US or others about what to do about the DPRK. Is that the case? Is there ever a way that you take up to try to sort out what the issues are and what to do to solve them? What has happened with the process in the Security Council with regard to the fact that there's only an armistice ending the Korean War, and there's essentially that this is one of the most dangerous hotspots in the world at this point?
On the first question, of course, I'm going to speak in my national capacity in both questions, please. We are concerned about the humanitarian situation in Gaza. We've heard the last report by Mr. Bladenov, and the situation of electricity and water is critical in Gaza. And of course, we want the international community to act promptly in terms of solving this issue. It is one of the most long-standing issues that the organization is considering in its agenda. Let's hope that the current efforts for dialogue could bring us to a resolution of this particular issue. No one has so far, as in the last 5 months that we are in the council, no one has suggested the visit to Gaza. It's something that the council hasn't considered yet. And on your question, I cannot really talk about what you are saying, the dynamics of the council are, maybe you know those better than I do. But as soon as we have formal information on the DPRK, of course, we will let you know. As it now, there isn't any. So that's, I think, that I can say regarding that issue as well. If there's any other question, the last one, please, ma'am.
Yes, Ann Charles, Baltic Review. In terms of threats to international peace and security, the provisional program mentions a letter from Ukraine. In your country's national capacity, can you give us some details on Ukraine?
But it is an issue, though, that is being raised. I mean, I think since we got into the council since January, and as soon as there is a decision of the council regarding this issue, we will let you know. There isn't really much that I can say regarding that. Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you being patient, and I know that you need to have lunch. Thank you.